Hello year one, happy Tuesday. Welcome to your maths lesson. Today we're learning to subtract. So we've been practicing this lots already, haven't we? But our success criteria, just as a reminder to be able to subtract, are identify the whole number, identify the part that we know, use concrete resources or represent pictorially, the drawing, and count backwards to subtract the part we know from the whole number. That's the basic success criteria for subtraction. Okay, so let's have our fast forward to begin with. So number one, what number bond is represented in the picture? So write it as a number sentence and then fill in the sentences underneath. There are blank red counters, there are blank yellow counters. Altogether, there are blank counters. And then what other related number bonds can you find as an extra next step? Then number two, looking at the shapes, which is the odd one out? And then can you explain why it's the odd one out? Then number three, compare the representation. So compare this bar with this bar. And number four, can you complete these number sentences? So 7 plus 6 equals what? And then half of 10 add 10 equals. Okay. Remember, you can pause at any point and go back if you need to. Let's go through those answers then. So what number one is represented in the picture? So there are 7 red counters. Let's make the font a bit smaller, otherwise it's going to be too big. Okay. So there are 7 red counters. There are 3 yellow counters. Altogether, there are 10 counters. So as a number sentence, that is 7 plus 3 equals 10. And for any other related number bonds, you could have written 3 add 7 equals 10, 10 equals 7 add 3, 10 equals 3 add 7, or subtraction number bonds as well. 10 minus 3 equals 7, 10 subtract 7 equals 3, 3 equals 10 subtract 7, 7 equals 10 subtract 3. Any of those would be spot on. Okay, number 2, which is the odd one out. So it is this shape here. And the reason why is because it's the only 2D shape. The rest of the shapes are 3D. So it's the only 2D or flat shape. Number 3, compare the representation. So we've got this bar shows 1 orange, add 4 blues. So it shows 1, add 4. 1 orange, add 4 blues. Altogether, that equals 5. So what about over here? We've got 2 blues. So 2 add 3 oranges. So 2 add 3. And how many is that altogether? It's also 5. So that must mean that they are equal to each other. 1 add 4 is equal to 2 add 3. Then number 4, 7 add 6 equals 13. And half of 10 add 10. Now, what are we doing there? 10 add 10. That's the same as double 10. So for half of 10 add 10, we just take away one of the 10s. We split it in half. So 10 add 10 is 20. And to find half, we just split it in half again. It's 10. Lovely. Okay, So Steve's big question today is asking who has the most apples now? So what's the question? Zach has 12 apples. There they are. Leanna has none. Zach gives Leanna 5 apples. So who has the most apples now? Pause here to have a think. Okay, so what's our first step now? We know that Zach has 12 apples and we know that he gives 5 to Leanna. So we can do that as a subtraction number sentence, can't we? So 12 subtract 5. 12 subtract 5. Now, we know there's lots of ways we could work this out. We could cross some of these apples out and draw them over here next to Leanna, or we could use a number line, or we could use some practical resources, anything in our house, as long as we've got 12 of them, or if we're in school, we could use our Numicon, we could use our bead string, any of our resources to work this one out. But I'm going to use a number line, just because that's what we've been practicing lots of. So 12 subtract 5. So I'm finding 12. I'm going to make 5 jumps backwards. I'm counting backwards because I'm subtracting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I've landed on 7. So 12 subtract 5 equals 7. What does that 7 represent? Does it represent how many apples Leanna has? No, that's right. It represents how many apples Zach has now. So now Zach has 12 apples. Sorry, no, he had 12. Now he has 7 because he gave 5 to Leanna. So Zach has 7 apples. Leanna has 5 apples. So who has the most? Which one is more? Is 7 more or is 5 more? That's right. 7 is more. So Zach still has the most apples, even though he was kind enough to give 5 to Leanna. So, Zach. Let's answer Stevie's question. Zach has the most apples. There we go. Well done if you got the same answer. So here's our vocabulary, same vocabulary we've had for ages now. As a reminder, we've got our subtraction number sentence, or minus, subtract, take away, all means the same thing. And it means to take away an amount from another to calculate the difference. And then equals means equal to or the same as. Here's our subtraction number sentence. So we've got whole, we start with a whole number when we subtract, we take away a part, and that equals the other part. So, some more subtraction for us today. This is our last week of subtraction before we move on to place value to 50. So let's see what we're doing. The question says there are 15 buttons. Here they are, 15 buttons. There are 8 pink. So 8 pink buttons. We know there's 15 buttons altogether, 8 of them are pink. How many are green? Now we could, because we've got a picture, just count them all. But that's not really working out a subtraction number sentence. Let's use what we know to work it out. So we know there are 15. So the first number is going to be 15 because that is the whole number. So filling in my whole model here, I'm going to do the same. 15 is the whole number of buttons. Now the part that we know is the 8 pink buttons. So we're subtracting 8. Part that we know is 8. 8 pink buttons. So to find out how many green, we just need to subtract the 8 pink. So we could use a number line. We could use our crossing out skills. And because these buttons are not in rows, which we know is the best way to count, it's quite hard to make sure that we have counted all of them without missing any out or without counting any extras. So we can represent it in a way that helps us to count, for example, in our 10 frames. So I've got 15 counters here to represent the 15 buttons. And then I know that 8s are pink, so I'm going to cross out 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's much clearer for me to see how many are left than it is to see how many buttons are left if you cross those ones out. So how many are left then? 7, that's right. So the other part is 7. There are 7 green buttons. 15 subtract 8 equals 7. Okay, and if I just want to check on the number line, I will circle 15 and then make 8 jumps backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And yes, I've still landed on 7. So no, there are 7 green buttons. Okay, time for you to have a go. Now this time we can't see the picture. It is under this box here, and I will move it in a minute so we can check. But I'd like you to have a go at this one on your own. So I'll read it to you and then pause the screen to see if you can write the part whole model and the number sentence. So there are 16 buttons, 16 this time. There are 7 pink, so 7 pink buttons. How many are green? So same question as last time, just with different numbers. Okay, pause here to have a go. Okay, so as always, it doesn't matter which method you chose to work this subtraction number sentence out, but let's see if you got the same answers as me. So there are 16 buttons, so that means the whole number is 16. Did you get that? Good. So we start our subtraction number sentence with 16. And then we're subtracting the pink buttons. That's the part that we know. So 7 is the part that we know. 16 subtract 7. Okay, how did you work that one out? So that means that the other part is 9. 16 subtract 7 equals 9. So how many buttons are green? 9. Let's count them and check. Move this out of the way. Let's see, it's really tricky to count when they're not in rows, isn't it? But let's see if we can. So green buttons. Let's cross them out as we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that all the green buttons? Yes, it is. So, were we right? Yes, it's 9 green buttons. Okay, so your turn now. This sheet is on Teams if you'd like to print it out, but if not, just pause the video here. So it's lots of questions similar to what we've already done, working out the missing part using subtraction. So choose however you like to subtract. It's up to you. And when you have finished those questions, we've got the challenge here as well. So look at the following objects. Tia works out these calculations. What question could she have asked each time? So this time you are given the calculations and the picture, the pictorial representation, and you need to decide on the question. So you're becoming the teacher, coming up with the question yourself. Okay, thank you everybody. See you later.